Part 1.
You will hear a conversation between a cashier in a bank and a customer. The customer is asking for advice about traveller's checks. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 3. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 3.
Good morning. How can I help you?
Yes, hello. I'm going away on holiday next month and I was wondering if you could give me some advice about traveller's checks.
Yes, of course. Where are you off to? Anywhere nice?
To France, to Paris for a week.
Oh, lovely. So how many checks would you like to order?
Well, before I do, are they the best option, traveller's checks?
Well, they're certainly safer than taking cash. If they get lost or stolen, they can be replaced, usually within 24 hours. It's a good idea to have a small amount of cash, though, for snacks and taxis, that sort of thing.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. What about my credit card? Are there any charges for using it abroad?
No, it's debit cards that get charged for ATM withdrawals, not credit cards. And remember, anything you buy with the card might be covered by insurance. So if something you buy turns out to be faulty or...
Before you hear more of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 4 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 4 to 10.
So it's probably a good idea to do all three then. Traveller's checks, credit card, some cash, yes?
Yes. So, how many traveller's checks would you like?
I was thinking about £300. How long will they take to arrive?
It depends. If you order before 2:30 between Monday and Thursday, you'll have them the next day by 10 a.m. in the branch. Or if we post them to you, you'll have them by 5 p.m.
Oh, but I was hoping I could order them today.
That's okay. Orders taken at any time on Saturday will be here in the branch at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, or delivered to your home by Tuesday at 1:30.
OK, that's all right. I don't mind waiting until then. Can I order them now?
Yes. Have you got an account with us?
Yes. Here's my credit card.
Thanks. Let's just log in and I can place an order for you. Could you confirm your date of birth?
15th of the 3rd, 1975. What's the commission on the checks, by the way?
It's 1.5%. That's pretty standard, I think you'll find.
And what happens if I don't spend them all? Will I be able to bring them back?
Yes, no problem. We buy them back and there are no additional charges or conditions of return. So, would you like me to go ahead and place an order?
Yes, please.
Will you be coming in to collect them?
I don't think I'll have the chance to come into the branch on Tuesday. Could you send them to my house?
No problem. Can I just check your address? 54 Tavistock Road?
Yes, that's right.
Postcode CB1 3LR?
That's it, yes.
OK. So that's £300 worth of traveller's checks.
Yes, please.
Now, what about euros? Would you like to order any?
No, thank you. I still have some at home from the last holiday. I forgot to change them at the airport when we got back. I was going to give them to our daughter, but I'll treat myself for a change, I think.
Good idea. So, £300 in traveller's checks. Could I ask you to sign here to confirm the order? Thank you. OK, that's done for you. Your checks will be with you by 1:30 Tuesday. Someone will need to be at home to sign for them. Will that be OK?
Yes, I'll be at work, but my husband will be in. Is that OK?
Yes, that's fine. Have a lovely holiday.
That is the end of Part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
Part 2. You are going to hear an interview with a student advisor on a podcast. The advisor is giving financial advice for overseas students going to the UK to study at university. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen and answer questions 11 to 15.
Welcome to our monthly podcast for overseas students planning to study in the UK. This month we're looking at how to make your money last longer while studying here. And to help us find some bargains, I have Jenny Lubeck from the Student Union. Jenny, students are renowned for being hard up, but there are lots of savings to be made, aren't there?
Well, as soon as students start their course at university or college, they'll be able to buy their NUS Extra card. This will enable them to get a wide range of discounts on essentials like books, clothes and eating out. The card only costs about £12 for 1 year, and for about the same amount you can include an ISIC card. The ISIC is an internationally recognised discount card for full-time students. Discount offerings vary and usually include things like travel, guidebooks, music, eating out, that kind of thing. Students are told all about this when they start their studies, but if your listeners want to find out more about these cards before they arrive, I've put some details of websites on the podcast page.
Now, travel costs can mount up for students, can't they? I know the ISIC card is useful here, but are there any other things students should be aware of?
Understandably, lots of overseas students like to take the opportunity to travel around the country whilst they're in the UK, and for this reason, I'd strongly recommend they invest in a young person's rail card. To be eligible, you need to be between 16 and 25. Mature students over the age of 25 can also apply, so long as they're in full-time education. You can buy a 1-year or 3-year card, and it gives you a third off rail journeys across the UK. The card also gives you access to competitions and things like theatre discounts and holiday offers. At the moment, a 1-year card costs £28 and it's £65 for a 3-year card.
Before you hear more of the interview, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
And what about buses?
Well, as well as the rail card, it's also more than likely the local bus operators will offer discounted bus travel with their own travel cards. These aren't aimed specifically at students, but can still save you a lot of money if you use the buses regularly. You can usually get these cards for a week, a month, a term, or a whole year, with bigger savings the longer the period. Another advantage of these cards is that, as well as making it cheaper to commute to and from university, you'll also find them very handy free transport whenever you need to do some shopping or visit friends in your area.
Are there any cultural things that students coming to the UK might not be aware of that can save them money?
Some overseas students are surprised by the amount of recycling that goes on in the UK, and much money can be saved in the process. There'll be a roaring trade in used course books in the Student Union on campus. Lots of students who were on the same course as you the year before will be selling their books at the end of their course. They'll be a lot cheaper than buying them new. Off campus, you'll find lots of charity shops in your local town centre with a good selection of novels, and you'll often get some really nice clothes, CDs and DVDs that people have donated, and all at very cheap prices. Of course, shopping in this way means you're contributing to a worthwhile cause as well. And check your local paper frequently for car boot sales. Car boot sales are a very British style of market, where private individuals come together to sell home and garden goods. In fact, they're a great way of recycling some of your own unwanted stuff and can help you make some money in the process. Finally, there are websites and mailing lists where local people offer up items they no longer want for free, as long as you agree to collect them.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3. Part 3.
You are going to listen to a conversation between a tutor and two students. In the first part of the discussion, they talk about a fellow student. First, look at questions 21 to 23. As you listen, answer the questions. Write no more than 2 words for each answer.
Ah, Francis and Steve, hi. Now, before we start the tutorial, am I right in thinking that you haven't heard about Lorraine?
No. What about her?
She's already left. What?
Well, she hasn't told anyone.
You sound surprised. Weren't you half expecting it?
Yes, but she could at least have told us, though. We've been on the course together for the past 3 years, and it would have been nice to know. She always was the sort to keep herself to herself.
Yes, I know what you mean. Did she give any reason?
Well, she got that job.
What?
Yes, and she's been given permission to leave, as there's only a week to go before the end of the course. But she'll be back for the exam week.
Oh well, we'll just have to catch her on the mobile after the class.
She's gone back to Wales first.
Oh dear.
We'll get hold of her on the mobile.
She did say that it might not be possible to contact her for a couple of weeks.
Oh, okay. If that is what she wants.
Before the conversation continues, look at questions 24 to 30. Now listen to the second part of the discussion. The tutor and the 2 students are talking about assessment marks. For questions 24 to 30, there are 4 alternatives: A, B, C, and D. Decide which alternative is the most suitable answer and circle the correct letter.
Right, to work. We're here to look at your assessment marks for your coursework. I take it you haven't seen them yet?
No.
Not yet.
Well, you'll both be pleased. In fact, very pleased.
Yes?
Francis, you have come out with the top mark in the year.
Oh,
You have, in fact, got a starred first.
Wow.
Aren't you pleased, Francis?
yes, I'm just speechless.
And, what about me?
Well, Steve, you got a first as well.
I don't believe it.
You might have done even better, but there were a few faults with the 5,000-word project you did on traffic management.
And what about the book review we had to do?
Yours was, I can safely say, the best we have ever had.
You're kidding.
I'm not. In fact, you have won the departmental prize for the piece. It's a pity, really, that your project wasn't of the same calibre.
It's still not bad at all, though, is it?
It certainly isn't. What do you think were the faults with your project?
I just wasn't very happy with the conclusion, and I got myself in a bit of a twist with the argument about road pricing.
By and large, your overall conclusions were okay, and I would say that your thoughts on road pricing were quite original. The problem was more with the actual end. It was a bit disappointing. You started off well, but then it ended rather suddenly, as if you got fed up with it.
Yes, I did kind of stop fairly abruptly. I couldn't think of much to say, even though I knew it was important.
Yes, that section needed a bit more work on it. But, as I said, by and large, it was very good. And, Francis, your project was excellent. So much so that we think you should take it further and perhaps do a PhD or at least an MPhil. What do you think?
I hadn't really thought about it. I've just been concerned with getting through this final year and getting all the coursework and exams out of the way.
I can understand that. But I do think that you ought to consider it seriously. If you perform as well in your exams as in your project work, you're on course for a first.
Do you think that I'd get funding for it?
Well, any grant will be discretionary, but you have as good a chance as anyone else. I'd even say a much better one. If you do get a first, it'll be the only one we've had in this department for 3 years. And I'd be happy to be your supervisor.
Thanks. I'd like that. Do you think I should start applying for it now, or wait until after the exams?
I think you must really start thinking about it as soon as you can. And Steve, what about you? Have you thought about going on to do research?
I have thought about it, but I have a job lined up if I get a good degree. And quite honestly, I am fed up with not having enough money to do the things I would like to do.
I can understand that. Is there anything that either of you would like to talk about?
Yeah, I have a couple of things I'd like to ask, if you don't mind.
OK. We have roughly 20 minutes left, so, Steve, would you like to go first?
Right.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
Part 4.
You will hear a talk on bullying in the workplace, given by a university lecturer to a group of students. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 33. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 33. Complete the notes made by one of the students present. Write no more than 3 words for each answer.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Mervyn Forrest, and I specialize in management techniques and training. I've been invited here today to talk to you about the cost to the economy of bad management. And what I would like to dwell on first is an area that has recently been exercising everyone, and that is coercion in the workplace, or, to put it more simply, bullying. It has been estimated that bullying at work costs the British economy up to £4 billion a year in lost working time and in legal fees. And with the problem apparently on the increase, it is time that managers took on board what is happening. I would like to think that what is perceived as bullying is nothing more than lack of experience, insecurity, or lack of awareness on the part of managers, and not a conscious effort to attack someone. But that is perhaps a case of my being naive or over-hopeful. Before we break up into groups to look at the first task on the handout you've got, I'd like to give you a start with some of the main bullying methods that have been identified so far. Basically, what I'm going to do here is to give you examples of 1 or 2 points. Can you all read the OHP clearly? Yes? Right, off we go.
Now answer questions 34 to 40. Write no more than 3 words for each answer. As you listen to the talk, complete the notes made by one of the students present.
The first item on the list is giving people tasks which managers themselves cannot do and which are therefore impossible to achieve. This is, in fact, a very common strategy used by managers to manage their subordinates. It gives certain people a false sense of security as they watch others failing while they try to achieve the goals set. Another simple bullying technique is constantly moving the goalposts, especially when one's employees are in the middle of a task. This is not bad management, it is just plain stupid. All targets and goals set should be easily achieved within a realistic timescale. Sending memos to someone else criticizing the performance of a task where the individual has no way of replying is another common technique, especially when the manager concerned does not reply or makes it impossible for subordinates to contact him or her by not answering the telephone or not replying to emails. This is not the style of a sound manager, but rather the antics of someone with emotional problems. If you behave like that, don't expect your staff to respect you. And now, the technological bully. It is interesting how all tools designed to help can be turned into dangerous weapons. The urgent email bully is fast becoming a problem in the office. Employees turn on their computers to be faced with a string of badly worded emails, making instant and often unrealistic demands, which reveal the hysteria mode of management. Have you ever felt a sense of dread before looking at your email, even your personal messages? All companies should develop a company strategy whereby there is an email code of practice, with offensive messages being forwarded to a designated person for appropriate action. I would now like you to break up into groups and brainstorm other bullying techniques which you think you may have experienced, and perhaps, if you're honest, which you have been party to. I can think of at least 9 more bullying strategies. I would also like you to consider ways in which you think that each of the techniques on your list can be countered. Is everyone clear as to what the task is? Yes? Okay. You've got 20 minutes to do this.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.